Our 1967 Plymouth Satellite GTX tribute car belongs to Preston Smith. Now, his son works for me and has for the last 11 years. I mean, he was there when I had the inspiration. I don't know if that makes him a co-creator. He's been with me a long time with Graveyard Cars, and how I met Aaron was because of his dad. His dad had a 67 Satellite that his father bought brand new when they lived in Southern California, had it his whole life. We wanted to make it into a GTX. So back then I was doing a car a year. At the best, I was doing a car a year. That was one of those cars. So we did a complete restoration transformation over to a GTX. Started life as a 318 automatic sport satellite, ended life as a tribute to a GTX 440 Super Commando automatic transmission, black on black. So when we're painting these cars, we have two choices of what kind of a finish to put on it. Do we do base coat, clear coat, or do we do single stage? We always use PPG because that's the paint that those cars were painted with at the factory. I think that's the right thing, and it's a great quality product. So in this case, I'm glad that we did a base coat, clear coat. And the reason being, it hasn't been exactly a pampered car. He's driven it, enjoyed it. It's sat outside it many times. It's got overspray on it. It's got shrink back in it. It's got all kinds of problems. That clear coat will buff out like glass, where the single stage may have started to lose some of its color over 14 years. It lose some of its depth. With the clear coat, I won't have that problem. After all the years of having the car, Preston came to me and asked if I would get it ready for sale for him. He's had it in the family forever, but he's not doing it justice, and he knows that. He's a diehard Mopar guy. He doesn't feel good about that, so that's why the car's here now. So when I'm buffing out a car that's 14 years old, and it's as bad as this one is, if you look at it very carefully, you'll see that there is a rainbowing finish in it, meaning that that's hard water spots that have gotten onto it. It needs to be cut really heavy. So the way that I like to do my buffing is very old school. I've got my buffer with a wool pad. A lot of people say don't go to the wool pad because you can't get rid of the swirl marks. It's too coarse, but I like a coarse pad. I like using this because I can massage it the rest of the way out with a foam pad, no problem at all. One of these little jobs right here. But for my rough cut, and as bad as that paint looks right now, I want to get down to the raw paint. I have 3 polishes that I'm going to use, compounds and polishes. The first one I'm going to start with is called number 1. That's going to be my heavy stuff. Then I'll switch over to the number 2, which is a medium cut. Then a number 3, I'll use both of these with a foam pad. And it should, theoretically, look like a sheet of glass when I'm done. Number 1 is a heavy compound. It is going to remove all of the scratches, all of the oxidation, all of the overspray. And with that wool pad, it's going to leave a real hazy finish to it. Step 2 is I'm going to go over it again with the same heavy compound, but with a foam pad. It'll begin to have some really nice luster. It won't be nearly like it should be, but the heavy gouges and the heavy swirls will be out of it. We're going to the number 2. Doesn't take as much product. This stuff goes a long way. This is kind of the fun part. This is the part that'll really make the paint pop. And the longer you take and the more you polish it, the deeper and the wetter the paint will get. So let's do it. When I'm done with it, on camera, it's going to look exactly like you think it's supposed to look when it's done. But if you were to pull it out in the sunlight, you would still have swirl marks in it. So after I do the number 2, I've got to move over to the number 3 polish, which is the finesse polish, a fresh new foam pad, and just work it until that luster is exactly the way you want it. After that, I seal it with a hand wax and it's done. This is probably the easiest part. All we're doing is taking out some fine scratches, swirl marks, that kind of thing. Oh yeah, beautiful. That's 13-year-old paint, folks. The kids still got it, baby. Okay, so really that's the 1, 2, 3 of buffing. Back in the old days when I first started out in 1985, I was doing auto detailing. I learned how to buff, I learned how to make a car look as good as it can look, a paint job look as good as it can possibly look, and if you want results like that, it takes time and patience. But I'm very happy with the way that turned out. We're gonna be able to get this buffed out the rest of the way. I just did a test for you, but I gotta do the whole car like that. So it's gonna take me about 5 hours to do the entire car. But that's it, that's the 1, 2, 3 of how to buff Welby style. So, Classroom S. Ajourn.